I am done with Macs. Hey there, friends on YouTube. My name is Jason, sometimes known as the JTL. This is Painfully Honest Tech, so honest it hurts. Thank you for being here. Whether you're new, whether you've been here before, any of that stuff, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Now, the topic today, the rant of the day, is all about Macs and my general frustration of said products. Now, let's get some history out of the way. I've been an Apple customer for 30 years. Okay, I bought my, or 25, I don't know, however many years I had my first Mac in 1993. And since then, everything that I've done, learned as a creative, I've learned to do all kinds of my creative work. I've learned the Adobe suite. I've learned everything over the course of those years on a Mac, and really have never felt comfortable outside of using the Mac ecosystem when it comes to doing creative work. I've talked about this before, but this year has been a difficult year. Over the past 8 to 12 months, I have purchased 5 Macintosh computers of one kind or another. I got a base model of the 2017 iMac, which was a pretty good machine. Ultimately, it didn't have the power that I needed. I was still trying to figure out what kind of machine do I need for doing heavy lifting with this YouTube stuff. So I sold that and I beefed up my PC. It's a long, winding road, okay? Around the first of this year, I bought a higher end spec MacBook, and I thought, okay, this is going to be great. And it was good for a lot of stuff, right? But I started to have this problem where every other time I sat down at the computer, every time I touched anything connected to USB, the friggin' Bluetooth would go out. And when you've got a computer that's just that gives you only Bluetooth peripherals, like what the So I sold that and I got a MacBook Pro, and I got frustrated with that. I couldn't afford to buy the $3,000, $3,200, whatever it is, MacBook Pro. And just, So then I went back to PC for a while. Then I got another 27-inch iMac. I think for a while I forgot about the Bluetooth thing, or I thought, well, maybe it was just that one model. But no, it wasn't. It wasn't. For the second time, I got an iMac and I brought it home and I took it out of its box and I put it on my desk and I started to use it, and generally it was pretty okay. A little bit weird sometimes in ways that I've never known Macs to be weird. And then the Bluetooth started crapping out again. And it just kept getting worse. I had the iMac for like 5 weeks, and finally I just decided, you know what, screw it. I'm gonna take it back because I don't want to have to deal with this. And because I wanted to keep working on Mac-specific programs like Logic Pro 10 and Final Cut Pro 10, I said, okay, I'll just bite the bullet until, a better machine comes out and I'll get the MacBook again. I got a little bit of a higher spec MacBook, and I thought this will get me through the summer. This will get me through traveling that I'm going to do, all that kind of stuff. But for some reason, even though it had the specs to do it, it wasn't rendering Final Cut 10 timelines. Like, I was just looking at hash marks across the timelines, and then the keyboard started to stop working. I literally had this MacBook for 2 days. Literally had it for 2 days. And I already had the dreaded keyboard death that is so well known when it comes to the MacBook Pro. In fact, there's a class action lawsuit going on right now for people trying to get Apple to fix their shit. But it can't be fixed. That's the problem. I also didn't like the butterfly keyboards. I finally I really thought about it, and I was like, no, this isn't the kind of keyboard for me. I need at least a little bit of travel. Now, I've been down the PC road before, and if you've watched some of my videos, you'll know that using creative programs on a PC was not always super satisfactory for me. I do a lot of stuff on my computer I do audio work. I do video work. I am a writer, and so that's important to me. I just didn't feel comfortable with PCs, but I thought now that I've had this experience with the iMac and with the MacBook Pro, I can't see throwing good money after bad after bad after bad into another Apple machine. So what was I going to do? I knew I needed a laptop. I knew I wanted a laptop because, as I said, I'm going to be traveling. So I looked at what my options were. I looked at things like the Dell XPS 15 2-in-1. It looked great. It had a great screen, all that kind of stuff. I was a little bit worried that the GPU wasn't going to be hefty enough for me to be able to do the video stuff that I need to do. So that was kind of like, option 2 or 3. I looked at some gaming laptops. MSI has a new gaming laptop out right now that is really slim and really good, but something about it just wasn't inspiring. Maybe it was the gold trim. I'm not a gold man in any way, shape, or form. But I looked at that. I looked at other gaming laptops. Most of them were chunky and heavy. That MSI was kind of attractive because of its svelteness. But there's something about Windows laptops. Maybe you've had this experience too. Every single Windows laptop that I've had, every single one, has felt somehow kind of not right. Now, and I've been thinking about it. I think that it might have a lot to do with the fact that most Windows laptops, up until recently, all Windows laptops really have been third-party manufactured. So some other company takes Windows, builds a machine, puts Windows on it, and it's kind of like Android. You get a little bit of everything, there's lots of bloatware, lots of junk, lots of whatever. And I've never felt super comfortable on a Windows laptop. Never felt super comfortable on a Windows pre-built PC either. I have the PC that I built for myself, and that's been super solid. But otherwise, yeah, just kind of much in the same way that Apple has become disappointing to me now, I've been disappointed in Windows laptops in the past. So I kept looking, I kept thinking. And I've been kind of eyeing up the Surface Book line for a while. I had a Surface Pro that was great until the headphone jack crapped out on me. And the Surface Book, the original Surface Book looked great, but to get the performance base, it was really super expensive. And at that time, I just didn't have that kind of budget. But now I found myself in the ballpark of the base model 15-inch Surface Book. And I decided to go ahead and pull the trigger. Look at that. Surface Book 2. My hope with purchasing a Surface Book 2 is that just like Apple manufacturing their own products and then putting their own operating system onto it, Microsoft manufacturing their own products and putting their own operating system on it will somehow give me a Windows experience like I've not had before. I've had the Surface Book for a couple of days now. Surface Book 2. I'm sorry, I don't want to confuse anybody. I've had the Surface Book 2 for a couple of days now. Now it has the i7, I think it's the 8650U chip, and it has a GTX 1060 in it, which is basically the same spec as my desktop, although yes, the desktop is running a desktop grade CPU. I just want to simplify my shit now. I just want to have one machine that I can do music on, edit video on, do my writing on, do my reading on, all that kind of stuff, and not have to bounce back and forth between several different machines. Now, yes, I have the gaming PC, and I'll likely keep that around. Yes, I'm trying to build a Hackintosh drive to go off of that so I can have Mac OS available to me. I also have a 2006 Mac Pro 1,1 that I've upgraded with an SSD and all that kind of stuff. I need to get more RAM for that. But it's still, oddly enough, still an incredibly solid machine. So I have options, but what I'm going to do for the next 30 days, I'm going to use the Surface Book 2 exclusively for all of the shit that I do. And just see how that goes. See if I can actually be satisfied with a mobile device as what I use for all the stuff that I do. Maybe that'll, simplify my life and, ease my anxiety and everything like that. But I never thought I would come to this day. I never thought that I would get to a point where I would be so frustrated with Apple's hardware that I would say, I can't do it anymore. I can't do it anymore. I was making a fool out of myself buying the same computer over and over again and hoping for a different result. Steve Jobs died in 2011. The last Mac that I got that worked great, that felt magical, like Macs often do, that really never gave me a problem, but even if it had given me a problem, it had user serviceable parts in it, was a 2012 Mac Mini with an i7, upgradable RAM, upgradable storage, all that kind of stuff. Since that time, every Mac machine that I've used has been somehow compromised in the hardware department. And I've just never known that to be the case up until the last 5 or 6 years with Apple. And I'm sorely, sorely disappointed. I'm looking forward to seeing what they come up with at WWDC, but they are going to have to pull their heads very far out of their asses in order to make up the hardware mistakes that they've made over the past several years, especially with the MacBook Pro line. I don't want thinner. I don't want low travel keyboards. I don't want a touch bar. I don't want any of that stuff. And I don't think anybody else does. I think maybe what we're seeing is that Apple no longer gives a crap about their more professional grade customers. They're aiming for the middle. They're aiming for the college student. They're aiming for, something different than what used to be their bread and butter. And that's super depressing. That's super depressing because the pros who bought Mac machines in the 90s, the pros who bought Macs in the early 2000s, those were the customers that kept Apple alive for long enough to come up with the iPod and then the iPhone and everything else. And it's just proof that once again, Apple has moved into the realm of consumer lifestyle company as opposed to serious hardware manufacturer for serious people. The Surface Book 2 seems, the build is amazing. The magnesium is great. I'm going to use it for 30 days. I'm going to tell you what I think. In the meantime, if you have questions, comments, whatever, let me know down in the comments. And, if you want me to make a video about one aspect of it or another, I can do that. It's been I've had it for 2 days now, and I've been really pretty happy. I'm still getting it worked into like all the crap that I got to get it plugged into in order to make this entire studio run. So there are some kinks here and there, but I'll know after 30 days if it's worth keeping around. Thanks so much for being here. I really do appreciate it. If you have thoughts about this, don't hesitate to let me know down in the comments. If you've never been here before and you want to come back, then you know all the things that you're supposed to do in order to make that more feasible. If you've been here before, you know I love you. Anyway, once again, my name is Jason, sometimes known as the JTL. This is Painfully Honest Tech. Tech so honest it hurts. Until the next time, I'm out.